Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet. This review is brought to you in part by Rogers Hobby Center in Saginaw, Michigan, where the fun begins. This review covers the recently released Coca-Cola 1969 Dodge Charger RT, a 1/25th scale kit from MPC, number 912. Now, they had introduced the Charger Snap Kit back in '68 as a new tool, and parts have been added off and on to make this a '69 version since then. And the kit was a rebox here with new decals. It still has the push bar and the CB radio from the Dukes of Hazzard kit in the box. And the Dukes of Hazzard, of course, made the RT Charger famous with their stunts there. And the RT version of the actual car is an upgrade with more horsepower and a nicer interior. Now, the kit is molded in 39 parts in red, black, transparent red, and chrome-plated parts. Also, it has green tinted windows, 2 metal axles, and vinyl hollow tires. Now, you can build the kit, without glue or paint, but a good coat of paint removes any of the molding, swirls, etc., and adding some details makes it a little more interesting. When you're done with the kit, it'll be about 8.5 inches long, 3¼ inches wide, and 2.5 inches tall. Here are the contents of the kit. As you can see, it's a pretty low piece count kit, and that makes it suitable for the beginning builder. But you can add some details and make it a real nice shelf sitter. Now, remember to use the manufacturer's safety and use guidelines when you use or see or hear any of the products that we use in the review. And also note that we'll be using liquid cement and super glue, and sometimes just to make sure that snap kits stay together properly, but that choice is up to you. The kit comes with these large and colorful Coca-Cola livery decals, and they're just gorgeous. The register is very good, but you will find it necessary to use some of the setting solutions to get these to conform to the body and stick well. Gather up the parts for the interior. That starts construction, including the tub, the roll bar, seats, dash, and the related pieces that you see here. I'm going to be painting these with some primers, and this is a product called Stenolrez. It's an acrylic polyurethane from Badger Airbrush, and you can get it at your local hobby shop or online. And it also comes in a gray primer, and I'm going to be using the black primer as the principal color for the black colored parts. It has a slight satin sheen to it, so it looks like vinyl. You can see the undercarriage here was painted with Stenolrez primer, and it has that medium gloss look that you'd expect to see on the underbody as well. Now the seats and dash, etc. get some detailing, and the tub, the radio, and the steering wheel. And we'll use white and some chrome for the accents here. And I decided that the seats were vinyl. Most of these Chargers were vinyl seats. And so I gave them a final coat then of some satin finish with a nice soft brush to keep the brush strokes minimal. The seat belts were molded into the seats, so I painted those flat black with some chrome buckles before placing the decals there, because they had cutouts for the seat belts right on the decals. And you can also see that the interior tub's console and the floor have been painted with the black accent for that area. The steering wheel and the shifter will also get shifter's chrome, and of course you've got the CB radio there. It gets some chrome accents with the Molotow pen, as well as the steering wheel. The chrome spokes are accented with that. After the paint has dried up, start placing the decals on the interior parts. Use plenty of warm water and soak them for about 15 seconds. I found them to be a little on the brittle side. And so once the decals are in place, I used a decal solvent on them And there's a number of brands out there, so use your favorite so that they'll conform to the contours. After that, you can coat them with some something clear like a pledge floor finish to give them a gloss. Now once the decals are dried, you can assemble the parts and set those aside for later. And the interior tub's assembly has no specific order. You can there's no interference issues. But I put the roll bar in first, then the seats, and glued the steering wheel and column to the dash, and then put the dash into place and the receivers where it's located. The next step in construction are the wheels and tires, and the tires are pretty nice. They're Goodyear polyglass tires, and they've got the detail on the sidewalls. You could try and detail those with little raised letter dry brushing, but that's up to you as well. Now, I scuffed the tread, with some 220 sandpaper on a flat surface to give it a worn look. And there's two choices for the rims. I went with the box art rims, and I painted the center with some gunmetal and glued those to the rim backs that I had, those were painted primer black, of course. Now, after the rims were dry, I pushed the tires over the rims, and I had a set ready to go. We'll be working on the chassis next, and we're going to put one of the rims on one of the metal axles. Just push it in and until it seats firmly. Then slide the axles through the chassis and press the other rim onto the other side and squeeze them together for both front and back. Now the underbody details can be done with a brush, or you can mask and spray, but a brush works pretty well. Just to pick out some of the detailing here, I just used an old or a small fine red sable brush and painted the oil pan orange, and then put a little residue on it from drips. But the exhaust was painted steel with a hint of reddish brown for rust. The mufflers were stainless color, and the fuel tank is a bright gray. We're going to start working with the body next, and the first thing to do is to put the front valence pan into place, and then we're going to give the body a nice overall coat of primer. And once that is done, you're going to look for any blemishes or issues that need to be scuffed out or detailed and sanded. There may be some parting lines you missed, or even sink marks. Anything can be visible once the primer is in place. So go ahead and give that inside and out a nice couple coats of primer to get that body ready for paint. So start with some light coats and give the body a nice coat of Coca-Cola like red. In this case, I used some Tamiya X7 spray, and it looks pretty close to the color I was looking for. And spray the exterior. Start with some light coats and gradually build a color coat, and then don't forget those wheel wells. Alright, in deference to the tires, this is where the rubber hits the road. The decals are probably the most difficult part of this kit. They are very large, and in fact you're going to want to use a lot of warm water when placing them to help them soften up and then position them. But even still, I had found that two of them cracked on me, and so I placed them back together and used some solvent to help meld them into position. You can see that those are indicated by the white arrows. Now, the first thing I did was place the hood decal. There was no issues there. And then next, the top fender decals, I aligned those with the hood's decals and the hood, and then the driver's side fender. Now, the decal cracked, as you saw earlier, and I didn't get it pushed back into position in time before it had set. And so sometimes a little light touch-up paint is required, or you can use the solvents, Solvasets, etc. to try and meld that back together. Now I put the long stripes on both sides, and then one of those cracked on the passenger side, and then I placed the Coke emblems and the quarter panel decals, and then finally the roof decal there on the riser and the Charger emblems, and the ice cold decal goes on the deck lid, and they were last, and they went in pretty well, no issues. Let all the decals dry overnight once you've got them finished, And then spray your vehicle with a clear coat, either some of the Pledge Floor Gloss finish or a clear paint. Once the clear coat has dried, we're going to work on the front end. We're going to place the headlight covers in the grille into the front bumper area. And then we're going to place the RT decal on the left headlight cover and then seal that in place with a little semi-gloss clear. And place the bumper then on into the body. Next we'll go around to the back and we're going to paint the rear insert black. And then the trim around that is chrome plated with your chrome pen. Now paint the taillight buckets there with the chrome pen and press the taillights into position when that's dry. And now press on the rear bumper, the gas cap, and the license plate into position. And after dipping the green clear parts, the window parts, in some Pledge and wicking that off and letting it dry thoroughly, go ahead and snap that into place into the body shell. It's time to put everything together, so place the interior tub into the body and then press the chassis into the body by wiggling the sides out just a little bit, and that completes the kit. You'll have a few parts left over, including a real nice set of wheels, alternate wheels, and a few decals that I didn't use for this particular livery. So go ahead and put those in your stash for later use. Well, there you have it. The stunning Coke can or Coke bottle decals make this simple kit really stand out. If you put one of these on your shelf, people are going to notice. We did have some trouble with the decals, as we kind of expected, and some detailing really goes a long way, even though this is a fairly simple kit. It's got a low piece count, which means that a youngster could put it together, but all in all, I'd say it's an intermediate build if you intend to use the Coke bottle decals. I'd also suggest a lot of warm water and a little extra time to make sure that they're put into place before you squeeze the water or any air bubbles that might be trapped under them out, so that they are exactly positioned before you put on your Solvasets or your setting solutions from your favorite brand. But once it's done, as you can see, it's quite stunning. The color scheme just jumps out at you, and the bright Coca-Cola red is a perfect canvas to put the decals on. So if I were you, I'd buy one and put it on my shelf. Well, we hope you liked this premium step-by-step scale model kit review. And so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can do that by clicking on the icon in the lower right hand of any of our reviews. And you can find us on Facebook or at our website, rightonreplicas.com. Thanks.